One of the first things you have to do when you take a new job is fill out a W-4 form. And this can be a little intimidating because it's a 4-page document with a lot of numbers and words on it. So let's go through this, and first let's talk about what this is. This is a document that tells your employer how much money to take out of your paycheck. It doesn't go to the federal government. It just goes to your employer. And this lets them know things about your financial situation so that they can estimate how much money you're going to owe at the end of the year. You don't actually owe tax when you get paid. You owe tax based on your yearly salary. So until December 31st, it's all just an estimate. When the end of the year comes, then you have to figure out how much you actually owe. That's what you do on a 1040 form. This form is just going to let your employer help you by saving a little bit of money out of each paycheck so that when that end of the year comes, you've got some money in your tax debt account already. So let's get on the computer here and we'll look at this section by section, and I'm going to show you this is not nearly as intimidating to fill out as what you think. In the first place, the only thing that needs to go back to your employer is this first page. So let's have a look at it. So here's the top portion of the form, and the first thing you see up here at the top is complete the form W-4 so that your employer can withhold the correct federal income tax from your pay. Give this to your employer. You're going to need to fill out all of this top part, your entire Social Security number. Now, if your name doesn't match the name on your Social Security card, you're going to have to call this 800 number. So the first thing you want to do is be sure that you write the name that's on your Social Security card. Then you're going to fill in your address, your city, town, state, and zip code. Now on Part C, you will check 1. Are you single or married filing separately? Or are you married filing jointly? Are you the qualifying survivor spouse? Or are you head of a household? That means you have a spouse and children. So that wasn't too bad. Let's move on to step 2. Now you complete steps 2 through 4 only if they apply to you. So let's see if they apply. Do you have more than one job, or do you have a spouse who works? Now this is not really going to be crucial, but it is very helpful. You notice number A says reserved for future use. Okay, so just ignore that. B says use the multiple jobs worksheet on page 3, and we'll look at that when we get to page 3. If you only have 2 jobs total, just check this box because your spouse's W-4 is going to take care of their employment. Now, if you have self-employment income that you plan to claim, like a side hustle somewhere, you're going to need to see page 2. Now, we're going to complete this W-4 part for only one of your jobs. So, on the other job, you don't have to complete this part. Now, let's move into steps 3 and 4. Step 3 is where you claim a dependent or other credits. Now, a dependent is going to be a qualifying child or another dependent, like an aging parent or someone disabled who lives with you. So if you don't have any children and you don't have anyone in your household that you support, then you're going to put 0 here. Step 4 is where you claim other adjustments. Now, you can, if you have another income not from a job like interest or dividends, or if you have certain deductions. If you intend to claim more than your standard deduction and want to reduce this, you can use a whole other worksheet. Part C is the one that might be of interest to you. If you know that you have a side hustle somewhere and you're going to be making a lot more money, then you can put any number you want to here. You can put $25, you can put $200, whatever. If you're one of those people that wants to get a huge refund check, you can put something in here for extra withholding, and that way they'll take more out of your check, but you might get more back. And here we are at the bottom of your form. It's entirely possible that all you have is zeros in the upper part of the form. If you are single and have no dependents, then that's going to be your case. On step 5, you're ready to sign your name, and that's going to be the same name that you filled in step 1 at the very top, and put the date. Do not write anything in that bottom line where it says employers only or the first date of employer. of employment. That is not for you. That's for your employer to fill out. So now let's go through some of the stuff on the other pages because they just might be helpful to you. This is on the back of the first page, and it says purpose of form. This is what I was telling you about earlier. This is so your employer can withhold the correct federal income tax. If too little is withheld, then you're just going to owe tax when you pay your return at the end of the year. If too much is withheld, you'll get a refund. Now you can complete a new form whenever your situation changes. If you get married, if you get divorced, if you have a child, what have you, you go to your employer and you request to fill out a new W-4 form, and this will adjust the amount of income tax that's being taken out of your check. Now let's look at the exemption from withholding section. It is possible that you could qualify to have absolutely no federal income tax taken out of your check. Now, to qualify for this, you had to have owed no federal income tax from the previous year, and you have to expect to owe no income tax in the coming year. The way you qualify for this is if you have a lot of dependents and a low wage, you might not meet the threshold for having to pay taxes. So what you'll do is you would go to section 4, back up there on the first page, and right under 4C, you can write the word exempt. Now, if it winds up that you do owe income tax, you're going to owe the whole thing. So be very careful if you're thinking about entering the word exempt right here. Now let's look at page 3. Notice right up here at the top where it says multiple jobs worksheet, that says keep for your records. You do not turn this page in. Notice down there by step 4 in the middle it says keep for your records. You don't turn this in either. Okay, this step 2 where it says multiple jobs, that's if you have another job somewhere and you're afraid they're not taking out enough income tax. Step 4 is going to be if you plan on itemizing your deductions, which are like your mortgage, various things like that. They have raised the standard deductions so much that very rarely do normal people need to itemize their deductions anymore. So if you think you need to itemize your deductions, or if you think if you have 2 jobs and think you might need to fill out section 2, you're probably going to want to talk to an accountant. And before we go, I do want to talk about the chart on the very back page of this W-4 form. There are 3 income charts here, and you only need to look at one. So first you have to identify the one that pertains to you. The top chart is for married filing jointly or qualifying survivor spouse. The middle chart is probably the one new job holders are going to want, single or married filing separately. Now down at the bottom is for head of household, so that's like I said, if you have a spouse and some dependents. So let's just look at the middle chart. This is going to be the chart that the majority of us are looking at, the single or married filing separately. So look at the column on the left where it says higher paying job, annual taxable wage and salary. What you do is you find your range in there, and then you go over to the right and you're going to find the amount of money you expect to make. So how do you know how much money you expect to make? You can calculate your yearly salary by figuring what you expect to make per week. How many hours per week do you expect to work? What's your hourly wage? That's going to give you your weekly pay. Then you multiply this times 52 weeks in a year to get your average yearly salary. So for example, if you expect to work 25 hours a week at $9 an hour, that's going to give you $225 in weekly pay times 52 weeks will bring you to $11,700. So let's go back to the chart. Over here on the left, we would fall in the range between $10,000 and $19,999. Now you're going to go over to the right and you're going to be in the very first column here. This chart is set up so that you can calculate the amount of taxes for a 2-income family. So if you don't have anybody else making income, you're going to be in this very first column here under 0 to $9,999. So for our example, someone who was going to make $11,700 per year, your tax liability is going to be $890 per year. So if you divide that by however many pay periods you have in a year, if it's monthly, divide by 12. If it's weekly, divide by 52. If it's bi-weekly, divide by 26. That's going to be the amount that should be taken out of your paycheck each time. So you can compare that when you get your check stub to be sure that the withholding is correct. So let's recap by looking at what a completely filled out W-4 form looks like. This top part is going to have to be completely filled out. You want your name that's on your Social Security card, your Social Security number, your address, and then you pick one from C. You might be single, or you might be married and filing separately. You might be married filing jointly or be the surviving spouse. Or you might be head of a household. That means you're married and have children. All right, step 2, you don't have to fill out anything here. This is just to benefit you. Step 3, I put a 0 here. All of these other choices are zeros. Okay, I'm not having anything extra deducted. Then down here at the bottom, you're going to sign your name and date it. This part, do not fill in. This is for your employer. You are the employee. So, congratulations on that new job. Now you can go hand in this W-4 form like a boss.